Have you ever finished harvesting your vegetables, looked at the empty beds, and thought, well, that's it until next spring? If so, you're making the same mistake that many gardeners make every year. The weeks immediately after harvest are some of the most important of the entire gardening season. What you do now determines how healthy your soil will be, how many pests survive the winter, and how productive your garden becomes next year. Experienced gardeners know that a successful harvest doesn't end when the last tomato or carrot is picked. In many ways, that's where next year's success begins. Today, we're going through proven, practical steps that will help you prepare your garden properly after harvest. These are simple methods used by experienced gardeners around the world, and every one of them can make a noticeable difference. Let's begin. The first thing to do after harvesting is remove unhealthy plant material. This sounds obvious, but many people leave old stems, diseased leaves, or rotten fruit lying around because they assume everything will naturally decompose. Unfortunately, many plant diseases survive the winter. Tomato blight, powdery mildew, fungal spores, bacterial diseases, and insect eggs often remain on infected plant debris. If these materials stay in the garden, you're essentially giving pests and diseases a safe place to wait until spring. Healthy plant material can often be composted. However, if plants showed signs of disease, it's usually better to dispose of them rather than adding them to a home compost pile that may not become hot enough to destroy pathogens. Taking a little extra time now can prevent major problems next season. Next, remove weeds before they produce seeds. Many gardeners stop weeding after harvest because there are no vegetables left to protect. But weeds don't stop growing. In fact, late summer and autumn weeds often produce thousands of seeds that remain viable in the soil for years. One mature weed today can become hundreds next spring. Pull weeds while the soil is still slightly moist. Be sure to remove as much of the root system as possible, especially for perennial weeds like bindweed or quackgrass. Preventing seed production now is one of the easiest ways to reduce future work. Now it's time to inspect every bed carefully. Walk slowly through your garden. Look for insect damage. Search under leaves. Check around stems. Notice areas where plants struggled. Were certain beds too wet? Did some areas dry out too quickly? Were particular crops consistently smaller? Take notes. Many experienced gardeners keep a simple notebook or use their phone to record observations. Memory fades during winter, but written notes remain valuable when planning next season. Small observations today often become major improvements next year. Once beds are cleared, gently loosen compacted soil. Avoid aggressive digging if possible. Healthy soil contains billions of microorganisms, fungal networks, and earthworm tunnels that support plant growth. Instead of turning the soil deeply every year, consider using a garden fork or broad fork to gently loosen compacted areas without completely disturbing soil structure. This improves drainage, increases oxygen availability, and allows roots to penetrate more easily next season. Less disturbance often means healthier soil life. Now let's talk about one of the most valuable things you can add after harvest. Organic matter. Every growing season removes nutrients. Adding compost replaces many of those nutrients while improving soil structure. Spread 2 to 5 centimeters of mature compost across your beds. Earthworms and winter weather will gradually incorporate it into the soil. Compost improves sandy soils by increasing water retention. It also improves heavy clay soils by making them looser and better drained. Perhaps most importantly, compost feeds beneficial soil organisms that support healthy plant growth. Healthy soil grows healthy plants. If compost isn't available, consider other organic materials. Well-rotted manure is an excellent option. Leaf mold, aged bark compost, or homemade compost all contribute valuable organic matter. Fresh manure should generally be avoided immediately before planting vegetables because it can contain high levels of nitrogen and potentially harmful pathogens. Well-aged materials are much safer and more beneficial. After enriching the soil, many gardeners stop. But experienced gardeners often add one more powerful layer: mulch. Covering bare soil protects it from heavy rain, wind erosion, temperature extremes, and nutrient loss. Organic mulches like shredded leaves, straw, or partially composted wood chips gradually break down over winter. This process feeds soil organisms while reducing weed growth. Nature rarely leaves soil uncovered. Following this principle often leads to healthier gardens. One of the most overlooked ways to improve soil is planting cover crops. Instead of leaving beds empty, sow plants specifically grown to benefit the soil. Winter rye protects against erosion. Crimson clover adds nitrogen. Field peas improve soil fertility. Mustard can suppress certain soil pests. These plants act like a living blanket for the garden. Their roots improve soil structure while preventing nutrients from washing away during winter rains. When cut down before flowering next spring, they become valuable organic matter. Many professional growers rely heavily on cover crops for long-term soil health. Crop rotation is another critical step. Avoid planting the same vegetable family in the same location year after year. Tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, and eggplants all belong to the nightshade family. Cabbage, broccoli, kale, and cauliflower belong to the brassica family. Repeated planting in the same place encourages disease buildup and nutrient depletion. Instead, rotate plant families around the garden whenever possible. Even a simple 3- or 4-year rotation can dramatically reduce pest pressure. Planning rotations during autumn makes spring planting much easier. Now is also the perfect time to test your soil. Many gardeners guess what nutrients their garden needs. Testing removes the guesswork. A basic soil test measures pH and essential nutrients. Some soils become too acidic over time. Others may contain excessive phosphorus or lack potassium. Applying amendments without testing can actually create imbalances. Knowing exactly what your soil needs saves money and improves results. If your soil requires lime or sulfur to adjust pH, autumn is often the ideal time to apply them. These materials work slowly. Winter moisture gradually helps them react with the soil, making adjustments ready before spring planting. Similarly, rock minerals and some slow-release organic fertilizers benefit from autumn application. Nature has several months to incorporate them before active growth begins. Don't forget about irrigation equipment. Drain hoses. Empty drip irrigation systems. Disconnect timers. Store delicate components indoors if freezing temperatures occur in your region. Water left inside pipes can freeze, expand, and crack expensive equipment. A few minutes of maintenance now may prevent costly replacements later. Garden tools deserve attention too. Clean soil from shovels, pruners, hose, and forks. Sharpen cutting tools. Lightly oil metal surfaces to prevent rust. Wooden handles last much longer when occasionally treated with linseed oil. Properly maintained tools not only last for years but also make gardening safer and more enjoyable. Sharp pruners create cleaner cuts that heal faster on plants. Raised beds should also be inspected. Look for loose boards. Check screws. Repair damaged corners. Replace broken edging before winter weather worsens existing problems. Small repairs now are much easier than rebuilding beds next spring while you're eager to plant. Fruit trees and berry bushes also need attention after harvest. Remove damaged fruit still hanging on branches. Collect fallen fruit from the ground. These leftovers attract insects and may harbor disease organisms. Inspect branches for signs of damage. Winter pruning schedules vary depending on species, but basic sanitation always helps. Maintain healthy plants. If you have a greenhouse, autumn cleaning is essential. Wash glazing panels to maximize winter sunlight. Disinfect benches if disease occurred during the growing season. Remove old pots and plant debris. Good sanitation greatly reduces overwintering pests like aphids and whiteflies. A clean greenhouse starts spring with fewer problems. Another valuable task is collecting leaves. Many people bag them for disposal. Experienced gardeners see them as free organic matter. Shredded leaves make excellent mulch. They also become beautiful leaf mold after composting. Oak, maple, birch, and many other tree leaves gradually transform into one of the finest soil conditioners available. Autumn literally provides gardeners with free resources. If you save seeds, post-harvest is your busiest season. Choose healthy, vigorous plants. Allow seeds to mature fully. Dry them thoroughly before storage. Clearly label every packet with the variety and collection date. Store seeds somewhere cool, dry, and dark. Properly stored seeds often remain viable for several years, depending on the species. Now let's discuss one habit shared by many successful gardeners. Reflection. Every season teaches lessons. Which tomato variety produced the best flavor? Which cucumber resisted disease? Which flowers attracted the most pollinators? Which planting dates worked best? Write everything down. Your own garden provides better information than any gardening book because it's based on your unique climate, soil, and conditions. These notes become more valuable every single year. Autumn is also a wonderful time to improve wildlife habitat. Leave some seed heads for birds. Install birdhouses if needed. Create small brush piles where beneficial insects can shelter. Plant native flowering species for next season. Healthy gardens depend on balanced ecosystems. Birds, pollinators, predatory insects, frogs, and beneficial soil organisms all contribute to natural pest control. Gardening isn't about eliminating nature. It's about working with it. As temperatures cool, continue watering if rainfall is limited. Trees, shrubs, and newly planted perennials still need moisture before winter. Roots continue growing long after leaves stop producing new growth. Well-watered plants generally survive winter stress better than drought-stressed plants. Finally, resist the temptation to rush. Garden cleanup doesn't have to happen in one exhausting weekend. Work steadily. Observe carefully. Enjoy the quieter pace of autumn gardening. Without the pressure of harvesting every day, you have time to truly improve your garden. Every compost layer spread. Every weed removed. Every tool cleaned. Every note recorded. Each small task contributes to next year's success. The best gardens aren't created in spring alone. They're built throughout the entire year. And perhaps the most important lesson is this. A garden is never truly finished. Every season prepares the next. Every harvest leads to another beginning. So instead of seeing empty beds at the end of the growing season, see opportunity. Opportunity to enrich your soil. Opportunity to reduce future pests. Opportunity to become a better gardener. Because the work you do after harvest is an investment that pays dividends for months to come. Next spring, when your seedlings emerge into healthy, fertile soil, you'll be grateful that you didn't simply walk away after harvesting your final vegetables. One topic that deserves much more attention is protecting the life beneath your feet. When most people think about gardening, they focus on the plants they can see. But the healthiest gardens are supported by an invisible world underground. Billions of bacteria, fungi, earthworms, and other tiny organisms work every day to recycle nutrients, improve soil structure, and help plants absorb water and minerals. Without this living ecosystem, even the best fertilizers cannot deliver outstanding results. One of the easiest ways to protect soil life is to avoid leaving the ground bare through the winter. Bare soil is exposed to heavy rain, strong winds, freezing temperatures, and erosion. Valuable organic matter can wash away, and beneficial organisms become less active. Even a simple layer of shredded leaves, straw, compost, or other organic mulch creates insulation that protects the soil throughout the colder months. By spring, much of this material will have begun breaking down, adding even more organic matter to your garden. Another excellent habit is dividing and relocating perennial plants during autumn. Many flowering perennials, herbs, and even some vegetables become crowded after several years of growth. Their centers often weaken while the outer edges continue expanding. Carefully Digging, dividing, and replanting these healthy sections gives each plant more room to grow, while providing you with free new plants for other parts of the garden. Cooler temperatures and moist autumn soil usually reduce transplant stress, allowing roots to establish well before winter arrives. If your garden includes pathways, don't ignore them after harvest. Remove weeds growing between stepping stones or gravel paths before they become established. Repair uneven sections that could collect water or become slippery during winter. Adding a fresh layer of mulch, gravel, or wood chips not only improves appearance but also makes spring maintenance much easier. Well-maintained paths reduce mud, improve drainage, and make your garden more enjoyable throughout every season. Autumn is also an excellent opportunity to evaluate your watering system. Think back over the summer. Were there beds that always seemed too dry? Did certain sprinklers miss important areas? Did hoses create unnecessary work every evening? This is the perfect time to redesign or improve irrigation while beds are mostly empty. Even small adjustments to drip lines, soaker hoses, or watering schedules can save hundreds of liters of water during the next growing season while providing more consistent moisture for your crops. Storage areas deserve attention too. Empty seed trays, wash plant pots, organize labels, stakes, cages, and gardening supplies before putting them away. Dirty containers can carry fungal spores, bacteria, and insect eggs into the following season. A quick cleaning with warm water and appropriate disinfectants helps reduce disease pressure next year. Organized storage also saves valuable time once spring arrives and planting season becomes busy again. Many gardeners overlook fences, trellises, and plant supports after harvest. Inspect wooden structures for signs of rot or loose screws. Replace damaged wires before winter storms make repairs more difficult. Metal supports should be cleaned and stored if possible, especially in regions with heavy snowfall. Properly maintained supports last much longer and provide stronger protection for climbing vegetables like beans, cucumbers, peas, and tomatoes. This is also the perfect season to think about expanding your garden. As beds become empty, it's much easier to imagine where additional raised beds, compost bins, rain barrels, or fruit bushes might fit. Measure available space carefully and sketch simple plans while this year's successes and challenges are still fresh in your mind. Planning now means you'll be ready to start immediately when warmer weather returns instead of rushing into decisions during the busy spring season. Another valuable practice is protecting beneficial insects through winter. While it's important to remove diseased plant material, there's no need to leave your entire garden perfectly spotless. Hollow stems from healthy flowering plants can provide shelter for native bees. Small piles of twigs offer hiding places for beetles that naturally feed on garden pests. Leaving a modest corner of your garden slightly wild creates valuable habitat without making the entire space untidy. A balanced garden supports both plants and wildlife, reducing the need for chemical pest control over time. Finally, remember that gardening is a continuous learning process. No season is ever perfect. Some crops exceed expectations, while others struggle despite your best efforts. Weather changes, insects appear unexpectedly, and every garden presents new challenges. Rather than becoming discouraged, treat each season as another lesson. The knowledge you gain this year becomes one of your greatest gardening tools next year. When spring finally arrives, you'll notice the difference. Beds enriched with compost will be easier to work. Mulched soil will retain moisture longer. Fewer weeds will emerge where seeds were removed before winter. Healthy soil organisms will already be active beneath the surface, supporting strong root growth from the very beginning. These improvements aren't the result of luck, they're the reward for the thoughtful work completed after harvest. In the end, preparing your garden for the next growing season isn't simply about cleaning up. It's about building a stronger foundation for everything that follows. Every shovel of compost, Every weed removed, every note recorded, and every hour spent caring for your soil is an investment in healthier plants and bigger harvests. The most successful gardeners know that. The next season doesn't begin in spring, it begins the moment this season ends. Preparation today becomes abundance tomorrow. If you found these proven post-harvest gardening tips helpful, consider putting them into practice one step at a time. You don't need to do everything at once. Even adopting a few of these habits each season can dramatically improve the health of your garden, reduce future problems, and increase your harvests for years to come.